Hi everyone, it's Shannon and welcome to my channel, The Daily DIYer. This video is going to be so much fun. I grabbed tons of items from Dollar Tree and we are going to experiment and tie-dye them. All right, you guys, I am so stinking excited about this video. I grabbed so many different items from the Dollar Tree and we are going to tie-dye them today. I do want to mention that my tie-dye kit is not from Dollar Tree. It's actually from Amazon. It was really affordable, and the reason I went with this one is because it has 26 different colors in it, plus it comes with all the items that you need to tie-dye with, including a cover for your table to protect it, gloves, your rubber bands, all of those kinds of things to make tie-dyeing a little bit more easy and not so messy. Some of the items that we are going to tie-dye today include towels. I grabbed some of their washcloths, a pillowcase, hair bands. I even grabbed a steering wheel cover, slippers, scrunchies, socks, and a bandana. And all of those items are from Dollar Tree, but first up, I want to show you a few different techniques of how you can tie-dye to get different looks. So you definitely want to make sure to protect your surface. Like I said, this tablecloth came in the kit, but you can also find these at Dollar Tree. I also grabbed one of their wash basins and their nitrile gloves. This set came with 10 gloves, so 5 pair, and I went through all of them. So pretty good deal for something that's going to protect your hands so your hands don't get tie-dyed. The tie-dye kit came with powder that you add into the bottles, and then you just fill the bottles up with water. It also came with this little funnel. So once your bottles are filled to the top with water, you just put the lid back on and shake them up really well. The kit also came with stickers to go on the front of all the bottles because the powder looks one color, when you mix it up, it actually will be a different color liquid. And you want to make sure you are picking the color that you want whenever you go to dye your projects. So we're going to start with this hand towel from Dollar Tree to show you some different techniques. This is the spiral technique, and I'm using a plastic fork starting in the middle and just spinning it around in a circle to create that spiral pattern, and then using my rubber bands that came in the kit too to go around the edge one time, and then crossing them around the center to make X's and different kind of pie shapes. It's also a great idea to use a Dollar Tree cookie sheet and baking rack to set your projects on so all of the liquid drains off, that doesn't hit your fabric. And here I'm just creating a rainbow type pattern using different colors of my ink into each one of those pie shaped slices. You also want to make sure to flip it over to the back side and repeat the process to cover the entire thing. And then you want to let it sit overnight, or at least 6 to 8 hours. I let mine sit overnight to make sure my dye was good and set. And to do that, I put it into a plastic bag, twisted it up to make sure it would stay moist inside the bag. You definitely want this to stay kind of damp. And then you can come back in your sink and unwrap it, take off your rubber bands, and then you will rinse out all of the ink from your project until your water runs clear. And here is a look at the finished product. So pretty. It's always fun to unveil these and see what they look like in the end. Again, this is the spiral technique. The next one we are going to do, I'm not sure if there's a technical term for this. I'm going to call it the snake technique because it's kind of in a tube like a snake. So that's what we'll go with. And what I'm doing here is just adding rubber bands every few inches along this towel. So here's what your project will look like after you have all of your rubber bands added, and you'll take your tie-dye ink or liquid and you'll add it to each one of those sections, whatever color combination you like. Again, you want to make sure that you wrap this up in a plastic bag, let it sit overnight or for at least 6 to 8 hours. So here I am just kind of squeezing it and wringing it out, making sure my water runs clear before I am finished. And here is a look at that finished beautiful striped pattern. This one, we're gonna do some folding. So I laid it out and sort of did an accordion fold with my towel lengthwise first, just going back and forth the same size onto each other or onto itself till I got to the end, and then you will start working from one end to the next, again, accordion folding all the way down. And then what you'll do is take a rubber band and you're gonna put one both ways. So you're gonna put it around the middle and then around the top and the bottom to keep it all secure. So I added quite a bit of ink to this one to make sure that I got good coverage because I knew it was not going to get down in the middle where it is folded. So make sure you get it on both sides, top and bottom, all of the ends. And then I also kind of squeezed it together to kind of work that ink around. This is such a cool look and works for this single color type pattern, but I think it'd be cool if you experimented and tried a couple colors too. And now one more technique before we get into our Dollar Tree experiments. This one is the most simple thing to do. I'm calling it the crumpled technique, and I'm just grabbing and bunching my towel up into the middle into one hand and then taking a rubber band and wrapping it around the edges and a few around the middle too. Since this is a very random technique, I also decided to be very random with my paint or my ink colors and used two and kind of just stuck ink here and there, flipping it over, making sure to do the back too. I think this would be a pretty technique if you did it with one color as well. So this is a fun one, as you never quite know how it's going to turn out in the end, but it always looks super cool. Now let's do some of our experimenting. We're gonna start with these socks first. These are so inexpensive. They come in a pack of 3, so you literally can get 3 pairs of socks for only $1. So you can make lots of different colors, or this would be really great with a group of little ones or friends too. So what I'm doing here is I'm just using that bunch technique and bunching it accordion folded all the way up the sock and then adding a rubber band right down the center, doing the same thing to both socks. I will say that these socks did repel the ink quite a bit, so there's a couple things you can do. You can, of course, first wash these first. You can get some of that sizing out of them. You can also wet them first so that they have some moisture in them already, and it'll take your ink and it'll go through your fabric much more easily. So sometimes it does help to use some scissors to cut those rubber bands off of your projects, and then you just do the same thing by rinsing out all of the ink until they run dry. These socks held a lot of ink, so it will take a lot of squishing to get it out, but eventually you will have some beautiful socks in the end. Now let's try this headband and scrunchie. I'm doing that snake technique with the headband, and I didn't quite know how to do the scrunchie, so I just left it and added ink randomly around the scrunchie, making sure to do both sides of both of these items. Now, neither one of these took the ink very dark, but it has such a pretty pastel color. I would definitely recommend this. Even the headband turned out really, really cute, and I think I just added new accessories to my wardrobe. Now let's try this pillowcase. I am using that accordion fold technique for this, just folding it back and forth onto itself and then going from one end to the other, repeating that accordion shape, and then adding rubber bands to the middle and then the top and the bottom. For this one, I added orange and purple ink too, one on one side, one on the other. And from what it looked like after it sat overnight, it looked really good when I pulled it out of the bag after it had time to sit. However, once I started rinsing it in the sink, all of the ink tended to just come right off. You can kind of see it just disappear. So it did turn a pretty lavender color, but unfortunately, I feel like this one was a flop. The slippers were just something silly. I saw them, they were white. It looked like they would take the ink, so I thought I would try them. Obviously, I can't add rubber bands to these, but I can add the ink to them. So I just very randomly added different colors all over these shoes. So as you can see, they looked pretty dark after I was done with them. They even looked black in some places, but you'll see as I rinse them out in the sink, the ink really starts to come off. And again, we got that pretty pastel effect. I will say that these shoes hold a lot of water, so even after getting quite a bit of it out, I put them outside on the porch to dry, and I think they're going to take a couple days, but these definitely surprised me as I thought they were going to be really, really dark, but they turned out to be a beautiful pastel color, and this tie-dye just keeps surprising me over and over again. And now this bandana. I had such high hopes for this. I did the fun spiral with the fork technique on this, adding a couple rubber bands to it and sectioning it off and adding 4 different colors of ink to it. But unfortunately, as soon as I took it over to the sink to wash it all out, it all just completely washed out. Kind of very similar to the pillowcase. And I just got sort of a basic pastel color, so I was kind of disappointed, but I mean, I guess if you just wanted a solid color, you could tint them if you want using the tie-dye. Now this one I really wasn't sure about. It's gray, first of all, so it's not white. And also it's kind of a fuzzy microfiber type material. I wasn't sure how the ink would handle it. I had used a lot of my bright colors, but I had some of the more neutral tone colors left. So I decided to try my hand at creating a camo style effect using greens and browns, just sort of randomly adding it to the steering wheel cover. So again, I kind of feel like this was another fail, but it was fun to try. It kind of gave it a tinted look, but definitely not the camo I was sort of going for. Let me know down in the comments below if you plan on trying your hand at some tie-dye sometime soon and what project you would be tie-dyeing for your project. Also, I would love to have you hit that subscribe button here and join our DIY family as I bring you new creative ideas and fun projects like this every single week, and I'll have more creative ideas popping up on your screen that you can check out next. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Happy crafting!